This is a test for the council meeting of the 17th of December, the time being 5:59 for this test, and we'll see whether it works. This is the second test for the council meeting being held on the 17th of December 2024 in the Blayney Shire Council Chambers, the time being 6:01. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the December Blayney Shire Council meeting with the time being 6:02 p.m. This council meeting is being live streamed and recorded. By speaking at the council meeting, you agree to being live streamed and recorded. Please ensure that if and when you speak at this council meeting, that you ensure you are respectful to others and use appropriate language at all times. Blayney Shire accepts no liability for any defamatory or offensive remarks or gestures made during the course of this council meeting. A recording will also be made and published on the council YouTube channel. General Manager, do we have any apologies for non-attendance?
No, Mr Mayor, we don't.
So therefore we don't have any applications for video link attendance. So now to acknowledgement of country. And Blayney Shire Council acknowledges that this meeting is being held on the traditional lands of the Wiradjuri people and recognise the strength, resilience and capacity of Aboriginal people in this land. Council celebrates the diversity of Aboriginal people and their ongoing cultures and connections to the lands and waters of the Blayney Shire. Disclosures of interest. Councillors, you are reminded of the oath or affirmation of office made under Section 233A of the Local Government Act and their obligations under the Council's Code of Conduct to disclose and appropriately manage conflicts of interest. Mr General Manager, are there any disclosures of interest by councillors or staff this evening?
Mr Mayor, I have currently 3 declarations of interest. The first one being from Councillor Rebecca Scott. It is tonight's meeting. The report title is Tourism Development Program Applications. It is item 5, specifically application number 1, page 39. And the reason is Councillor Scott is a member of the Blayney A&P Association. It's non-pecuniary and it is significant. The second declaration is from myself. It is for the Tourism Development Program applications, item 5, specifically application number 2, page 39. And the reason is my wife is on the organising committee of the Food Week Falling for Blayney event. It's non-pecuniary and significant. The third and final one is from Councillor Rebecca Scott. The report title is Millthorpe CBD Proposed Scope for Construction, item 13, page 97. The reason for the interest is a family member has provided electrical work on the Grand Western Lodge. It's non-pecuniary, less than significant, as the work has previously been completed and unsure of any ongoing work.
Thank you, General Manager.
Excuse me, Mr Mayor. I might have one as well, but I didn't really realise it until I read the papers. It may or may not be. It's just around the skill set nomination of the General Manager. Not sure how that sits.
You have to make a declaration yourself one way or the other, so...
I don't
as
know
in,
how it's...
given,
so-
as in, have a decision, and when the business paper item comes up, as in make a declaration one way or the other, as in how you see that it fits, would be my suggestion. General Manager, have you got any...
Probably need some guidance on that. Sorry.
Through you, Mr Mayor, Councillor Price-Jones, you need to make the declaration yourself. If you feel there is an interest, then declare it. And then whether you're in or out of the room, that's up to you how you declare that interest.
Not sure then. Thank you.
You have up until the item to declare, so as in, with regard to that item.
Probably do nothing because I'm not clear, really. So.
Okay, so to the General Manager, are there any public forum speakers tonight?
Through Mr Mayor, we did have one registration, but that has been withdrawn.
Thank you. There are 2 mayoral minutes that I have put up to council. These are late minutes, so they do appear with the business paper now online, if any community members want to read. So I'll do those first. They're listed as item number 19 and number 20. So firstly, item number 19. There's a recommendation that the council acknowledges the significant achievement of the Millthorpe Junior Soccer Club being awarded the Regional Club of the Year Australia Award, and to acknowledge the hard work of President David Butler and committee members for achieving this outcome. So I'm moving that from the chair as a mayoral minute. I don't think I need a seconder for a mayoral minute, do I?
No.
No. So there's an explanation about the item, as in the announcement is actually not till tomorrow morning, but I was allowed to announce this tonight to council. It's a significant achievement because they've, as the report states, they've actually earned a 2-star rating. You can get a 3-star rating, and they have implemented several initiatives, including the Girls Love Football program, to earn those 2 points. So a substantial award for a club within our LGA, and just acknowledging that award tonight. Any discussion or comment from the councillors in the chamber? If not, sorry, Councillor Scott.
Just a comment in relation to that matter.
Quite sure if your microphone's actually picking it up either, so you might want to move it on your other side of you to talk. 'Cause I don't think it was picking it up on the PA system, but yeah, an acknowledgement that as in appreciation of what has taken place.
Yes.
Okay. Any other comments or discussion? So all in favour of the mayoral minute? Against? Carried. Number 20 is the second mayoral minute, end of year events. A recommendation that I'm moving from the chair, that council acknowledge the significant achievement of a number of individuals, organisations and groups throughout the Blayney Shire for conducting several events to bring the community together and support local businesses. So I've attended a number of events, and in particular reference, and there have been a lot of events in the lead up to this Christmas period, but particularly the Twilight Markets, a fantastic event in the main street of Blayney, and I think there was about 25 stalls that participated in that event. I also do have to acknowledge Council Officer Megan Rodd, who actually put a lot of work into getting that event up and running, and Council did put some financial contribution towards that. But I spoke with one individual who'd come from Cobar, but they were visiting family and friends, but it came along to that event. Another event that I'd like to highlight is Carols in Carrington Park that took place last Friday night. A fantastic event again. Council provided assistance. It was run by the Blayney Baptist Church with the support of council and also the village church band. A fantastic outcome, a lot of community members there, well attended event that took place. The other major event that took place was the Millthorpe Carols at Club Millthorpe. That was totally a community driven, and the club did all the work with Alison Lavers. I'd like to acknowledge Alison Lavers as well. Fantastic event. That's the 6th year of running and grows every year. A large number of people, and again, there were a number of people from Orange and surrounds that had actually come to that event. So fantastic events. And finally, I'd also like to acknowledge the school presentations. I went to a number, and I appreciate Councillor Dorset for attending CARCOR as well. There's some great students out there, some great young people, some great performances as well. And I do have to take my hat off to Neville because they had a 3-course meal afterwards. So, as well as a great performance in the hall at Neville. So, but each school stood out from throughout the Shire, and sadly I can't attend tonight because we have a council meeting while the Blayney High School presentation is taking place up the road. So congratulations to all the students and to all the volunteers. I think that's the thing that stood out for me when I went to each school presentation, the amount of volunteers that give their time to help. A lot of them are grandparents or parents that actually go and assist the students in learning. So those volunteers should be acknowledged, but volunteers throughout the whole community, because without our volunteers, our community would be only half, if not less than half of what it is. So a big thank you in this final council meeting for the year to all our volunteers across the Shire. All in favour of the recommendation? Against? Carried. To the ordinary business paper now, and we move to item number 1, which is the minutes of the previous council meeting held on the 26th of November. Do I have a mover there for the recommendation? Councillor Scott, Councillor Hutchings seconded that. Any discussion with regard to the minutes? Is every councillor happy with what's in the minutes as a true and accurate record? If everyone is, all in favour of accepting the minutes? Aye. Aye. Against? Carried. To item number 2, McPhillamy Gold Project. Oh, sorry, was there any matters arising out of those minutes that anyone wanted to raise before I go on to item number 2? If not, I'll move on to item number 2, which is the McPhillamy's Gold Project proposed water supply pipeline and electrical infrastructure recommendation. There are 2 parts to that recommendation. Do I have a mover for that recommendation? Councillor Newstead has moved that way. Councillor Dorset has seconded that recommendation. Discussion, councillors. There is no discussion. All in favour of the recommendation? Aye. Against? Carried. To item number 3, electric vehicle destination charging point. There's a recommendation there with regard to this electric vehicle destination charging grants and potential point somewhere in the Shire, probably here in Blayney. Do I have a mover for that recommendation? Councillor Scott has moved that way. Councillor Goswich has seconded that recommendation. Do I have any discussion or questions with relation to item number 3? Councillor Newstead.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just quickly comment, it's a good thing for Blayney if it can happen, and the fact that it won't cost council anything is even a better thing. So, yeah, hope it happens. Thank you.
Councillor Price-Jones, did you have something? No, you didn't. Any other councillors had a question or query? Just as a quick comment, the Councillor Newstead, I and the General Manager had the opportunity to attend an electric vehicle demonstration day in Bathurst recently to look at the pros and cons of potentially electrifying some of the Blayney Shire fleet. Still appears very early days, but the one positive to come out of that I found was I had to listen to a talk from Essential Energy, and they actually outlined all the pros and the cons. So a lot of their challenges, and they've made them available to councils so that councils can actually have a look at, before you actually purchase any pure electric vehicles, make sure that you've ticked a lot of boxes and made sure that you particularly have the infrastructure, I think, is a part of it. Don't buy the vehicle and then say, how are we actually going to charge it up? To actually look at the alternate, as in to make sure that you have the facilities and infrastructure available. So that was a very good exercise to actually attend that day. I learned a lot personally, and I'm sure Councillor Newstead and the General Manager also did learn a number of things during that event. If there are no other discussions on the item number 3, all in favour of the recommendation? Aye. Against? Carried. Item number 4, and just checking with Councillor Price-Jones, do you have a declaration or not? Manager, what's the declaration?
Through Mr Mayor, it's from Councillor Price-Jones, report title is Skill Set Member Representative. It is item 4, page 37. The reason for the interest is Councillor Price-Jones is a current Director of Skill Set, not appointed by Council. It's a non-pecuniary and it would be significant.
Councillor Price-Jones is leaving the...
Yeah, Councillor Price-Jones will have to change.
Okay, councillors, there's a recommendation there, number 4, with regard to the appointment of the General Manager as the Blayney Shire Council Skill Set Member Representative. Do I have a mover for that? Councillor Scott, Councillor Goswich. Okay, any discussion or debate on that particular item with regard to skill set? If not, all in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Can someone get Councillor Price-Jones back in, please?
Deputy Mayor, because the Deputy Mayor will call
Yeah, well, the first one she needs to be in. So. No,
you can stay for number 1.
For a tick, please.
Yep.
Just waiting for Councillor Price-Jones to be seated. Okay, councillors, now we have item number 5. There are 2 declarations for this, but we are actually going to break this up into 6 particular items, so there'll be 6 votes on item number 5. So firstly, I do need, well, to make sure that we can do 6 votes, I need to move item number 1, that the council considered this matter in seriatim. Do I have a mover for that? Councillor Goswich and Councillor Dorset has seconded that. So I doubt, is there any discussion, debate before we move to that? If not, all in favour of moving seriatim? Against? Carried. Okay, now we have declaration from Councillor Scott with regard to the Blayney A&P Association. So I'll just wait for Councillor Scott to leave. The Councillor Scott has left. The second recommendation there, that Council approve, deny $2,000 of funding to the Blayney A&P Association for the Blayney Show event. So do I have a mover one way or the other, either approve or deny the funding of $2,000 to the Blayney Show event?
I'd like to, can I put an amendment that we give them $1,000, or do we want to approve it first?
Or approve for $1,000. Okay, do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Hutchings has seconded that. So discussion on the 1,000, or you might want to actually outline why you've reduced it to 1,000.
Yeah, I'd like to reduce to 1,000 because it doesn't sit right with me that it's a tourism event. I think it should have been coming under a different banner, but it's here. They had some shortfalls, which I understand. I think $1,000 it doesn't cover their whole shortfall, but with if they chase some sponsorship up in the next 3 months, they might be able to get that. And then That's how I look at it. I think that helps them out and then chase some other sponsors up. And I just don't think it fits under tourism. It's not going to bring any extra people here, the Bucking Bull, and that's what it's not bringing. To me, it doesn't fit in the tourism section.
Any other councillors want to discuss this to have it approved for $1,000? I'll go to the vote on that one. All those in favour of the approved for $1,000? Those against? Because there's 2 councillors that didn't vote. So I assume you're voting against. If you've not voted in favour, you're voting against. Councillor Newstead and Councillor Price-Jones? You're voting against because you didn't raise your hand to vote in favour? Okay, so we're successful. Please use your microphone, but we also need to understand, so are you voting in favour or against? Because I need to see that, well, there are 4 in favour, so it's carried. It's probably easier. So can councillors please raise their hand when you're voting so that I can actually see where the vote is, please. So we could get Councillor Scott back in, but the General Manager has made a declaration for item number 3. Okay, so item number 3, that council either approve or deny $2,000 of funding to Food Week Inc. for the Falling for Blayney event. So do I have a mover for either approve, deny, or a change in the motion or recommendation? No movers, this will lapse. Move to approve.
I have a question, yes.
Okay, so for $2,000? Okay. So do I have a seconder for this? Councillor Dorset has seconded that. Okay, so Councillor Goswich, you may now discuss.
Just don't want to see Food Week come back into one of the other grants and ask for more money, like they have in the community thing. So I'm happy to for this one, but I just don't want to see them come in the community grants or something else later on, that's all.
Any other discussion or debate to approve $2,000 of funds to Food Week Inc. for an event here in Blayney? Councillor Newstead.
Yeah, so this will be an ongoing event is there any...
This recommendation is for a one-off, but I don't know if the Director wants to add anything.
Through Mr Mayor, as I understand, it is proposed, if successful, that it continues and it be conducted around the Blayney Shire.
Okay, so we may be setting a precedent, or is it
It would be a new application.
Yeah, each year.
So this is for a one-off $2,000 grant for this for this financial year. For I think it's April Food Week. That be right, Councillor Price-Jones? Yep. So, okay, so any other discussion? So all those in favour of recommendation number 3 to approve for $2,000? Against? Carried unanimously. Okay, can someone get the General Manager, please? So item number 4, that council approve, deny $2,000 of funding to Newbridge Progress Association for the Newbridge Winter Solstice event. I'm going to move from the chair.
Track, haven't you?
Oh, did I miss? Sorry.
Workshops.
Oops. 3, 4.
No, not on
Mine's
my,
at 3, sorry.
mine's number
Papers.
3.
One I've got in front of me is number 4 and number 4 on my computer, so I'm not quite sure.
Different to the list up the top, so they're different to the
Yes,
list.
the recommendations, through Mr Mayor, the recommendations don't quite align with the application numbers because of number 1. So, yeah.
Sorry, they're all one out, except, yeah. Anyway, so number 4 is, I was going to move from the chair that we defer funding and consider it for the next financial year, or, yeah, I'll move that this is deferred. Sorry, not this one. I'm looking at the next one, so now I've got confused. So do I have a mover, someone to either move to approve or deny the $2,000 for the Winter Solstice Festival event, which takes place in June? Councillor Newstead has moved that way. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Goswich has seconded that. Any discussion or debate about this event, which was fairly substantial last year, probably the biggest I have seen? So the recommendation, if there's no further discussion, the recommendation in front that Council approve $2,000 of funding to Newbridge Progress Association for the Newbridge Winter Solstice event. Favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. That now we move to number 5, and this is the one that I'll move from the chair, that we actually defer the $2,000 of funding and ask that they resubmit an application towards the end of the financial year for next financial year. So I have a seconder from Councillor Newstead, has seconded that way. Any discussion or debate with regard to the Spring into Arts Markets marketing project?
Tell us your reason, please, Mayor.
So I'm happy to tell the reason, because it falls in spring, so it's outside of this financial year, and if we approve all of these events, and I know we've already approved one at half the money, that this financial year will be fully committed if we were to do that. I suppose the other option could be, if someone wanted to move an amendment, is that we actually approve but for next financial year. That would be the other potential option, but as in someone would have to move it from the floor. So Councillor Dorset?
Get organised with their planning, and or will we be leaving them short and setting them up for failure if they don't know, because they may not have enough time to get alternate funding organised?
Question, does the General Manager want to comment, or do I?
Mr Mayor, Councillor Dorset, so the money, my understanding is for marketing, so the more notice and advance it would be preferable. So, and that is, sorry, Anton. As the Director is just highlighting to me, part of it could also be funded through the Financial Assistance Program. It's totally up to Council, I think. Look, the greater the advance, the easier it would be for that committee, and you could resolve that to support it, and the allocation is taken from 25-26.
I'm happy to therefore amend, as in from the chair, that we as in approve, but from the 25-26 financial year. Are you happy, Councillor Newstead, as the seconder, to modify that? Okay, so any further discussion or debate? But we are clear that we're deferring funding until the 25-26 financial year, which is now on the screen.
They know they're going to get the money anyway, but it's just coming out of the
No, but it will
budget.
come out of our budget
Yeah.
for the 25-26 financial year.
Are we, Mr Mayor,
Manager?
correct, and that would mean that there is $8,000 in next financial year, if that makes sense, not 10. Yes.
Any further discussion? Debate? If not, all in favour of the amended recommendation?
Right.
Against? Carried. To number 6, there's a suggested recommendation here that Council approve, deny $2,000 of funding to Sidetrack Art Inc. for the Summer Workshop Series events. Do I have a mover one way or the other with this recommendation? A mover, I will let this lapse. So, council is willing to go one way or the other. If not, if there are no movers one way or the other, then I will let this recommendation lapse. I think that's correct, isn't it, General Manager? Okay, so that's the 6 recommendations there with one lapsing at the end. On that note, we then move on to item number 6. So, Blayney Shire Community Engagement Strategy. There's a recommendation there that Council endorse the attached Blayney Shire Community Engagement Strategy. Do I have a mover for that recommendation? Councillor Price-Jones. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Dorset. Any discussion or comment on this, Councillor Price-Jones?
I just wanted to ask if that's okay about whether it goes on public exhibition.
Mr Mayor, no, it does not go on public exhibition.
Councillor Price-Jones.
Is there a reason for that? Because a lot of other things go on exhibition.
Mr Mayor, it's not a specific policy like our other policies that would go up. It's a mandated requirement that it's endorsed within 3 months of the election, and that's the reason it doesn't go out for public consultation.
Any other questions or comments on this recommendation, number 6? If not, all in favour of the recommendation? Aye. Against? Carried. To item number 7, report of council investments as of the 30th of November 2024. Do I have a mover? Councillor Goswich and Councillor Newstead has seconded it. Any discussion with regard to this report? If not, all in favour of the investment report? Against? Carried. Item number 8, lease of industrial land for adjustment purposes. There is a recommendation there with regard to paddock number 8 in Marshall's Lane. Do I have a mover for that recommendation? Councillor Scott and Councillor Newstead moved and seconded that. Any discussion with regard to this recommendation? Councillor Price-Jones.
I just have a question again around the rate. So there's St John's Wort on that block, so I'm not sure who's responsible for spraying that. Under the lease it is, but if it's a transfer of lease, does it transfer to the new lessee, or do we need to get that fixed before they move on? And does the amount of $2,400 cover the rate and water use costs because it's on town water?
I'm going to make a comment, but probably the director may be able to answer better. But because Patterson's curse is not a priority weed, I would suspect it would be very hard to enforce control of a non-priority weed. But
I just said St John's Wort.
Oh, St John's Wort. Sorry, I missed that.
Sorry.
I thought it was Patterson's curse. No.
John's Wort.
Sorry, to the director.
Through Mr. Mayor, the condition of the arrangements with such land is that the condition of the land is as is, and it's the responsibility of the incoming lessee to manage the state of the paddock whilst occupying it. In reference to the costs, this arrangement's only for a finite period to the end of February 2025, but in saying that the costs far exceed the income council receives from the paddock, all the paddocks.
So, a question from myself: why, given that this is only 2 months away, as in why have they asked for a lease extension for just 2 months? This is quite expensive for just 2 months.
Through Mr. Mayor, this is the amount is an annualised contribution that'll be apportioned on a pro rata basis. It's on council's choosing that we're stipulating that it run to February, and that's purely to have a common expiry date for all leases at the in the industrial area. And then we actually have, as the report indicates, we have an expression of interest out now, and the next council meeting will consider all applications received by council, and then that'll be offered for a 4-year period with a 1-year term extension.
Councillor Price-Jones.
So just a question, please, around who's going to notify them of a reportable weed. Not everybody understands what they are, and there's a really a small window for spraying, regardless of whether it's only 2 months. And I think that time frame, and our mayor might be able to confirm this, will come up in that space, or will council just undertake to get that sorted? It's not a huge. It's growing every year.
Mr Mayor, we can notify the leasee of that window and also the requirement of condition 12 of the lease, which they are responsible for, so we can notify them of that.
There's also some St John's wort on the roadway outside the paddock, which probably needs to be looked at as well.
Just on St John's wort, it's right across the Shire. It's on many of the council roads, even coming down here tonight. I saw a number of St John's wort weeds across the
Yes,
Shire.
it is, but that's why it makes spraying so important, and to get it at the right time.
Any other discussion with regard to this short-term lease for approximately 2 months? To bring it into line, Councillor Dorset.
Sorry. Could I just confirm, under risk policy legislation considerations, the wording of that? I must be losing something in my translation of reading it.
Through you, Mr Mayor, the wording on page 72 of risk states, should council choose not to allocate this lease, a program of maintenance of the land will be required to manage the weeds and the fire hazards. Yes, so.
Thank you.
Okay, any other discussion, questions with regard to this item? If not, all in favour of the recommendation? Aye. Against? Carried. Item number 9, nominations for Financial Assistance Program Committee. Now there's a number 2, I'm going to move from the chair that we delete number 2 out of this recommendation. So I'm moving part A and deleting part B of the recommendation. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Price-Jones. Is there anything general? So in an explanation of why I've removed part 2 now that I have a seconder in Councillor Price-Jones is that the actual Financial Assistance Committee, the structure, last time we actually increased it because there were 5 nominations. This is back nearly 3 years ago for the positions, and there were 5 worthy nominees, so we allowed 5 people, so we extended it by 1. We are now looking at winding it back. We've only had 4 nominations for the 4 positions, so we are going back to the previous number on that committee, is why I've moved to remove the second part of the recommendation. So any discussions or questions with regard to the recommendation which now appears on the screen, which is just part A? There's 4 names up there, so Miles Hedge, David Kingham, Tamara Miller and Jordan Butler. Any further discussion, debate? If not, all in favour of the recommendation? Aye. Against? Carried. Item number 10, nominations for Disability Inclusion Working Group. There are 2 parts to this recommendation. So do I have a mover for that recommendation? Councillor Newstead has moved that way. Councillor Hutchings has seconded that. Discussion or debate, councillors? If not, all in favour of the recommendation? Aye. Against? Carried. Item number 11, proposed lease of road. This is Graham Lane in Millthorpe. There are two reports on Graham Lane, but two separate reports. We'll come to the other one shortly, item number 14. But this recommendation is with regard to the lease of part of Graham Lane. Three parts to that recommendation. Do I have a mover for that recommendation? Councillor Goswich has moved that way. Councillor Dorset has seconded that. Any discussion or debate with regard to this recommendation? Councillor Price-Jones?
Potentially. I'm just interested that it's $311 per annum. So I wasn't wondering about how it should probably reflect at least rateable value. But then it's a road, so I'm not sure that it actually applies.
The General Manager or to the Director?
Through Mr Mayor, I'll pass to the Director in the first instance.
Sorry, I didn't hear the question.
I think it's a question about the $310 per annum and whether that's adequate. Hopefully I'm paraphrasing Councillor Price-Jones.
It is. Through Mr Mayor, the amount determined was, or as the report indicates, as negotiated and agreed upon from the previous lease. Is the amount adequate? There are no costs to council for maintaining the land, and as the General Manager just alluded to, then it does form part of the rateable land, although there wouldn't be any substantial increase to the land value, so I'm not sure there'd be any additional benefit through rateable land. Council has the option, of course, to, if they wish, to determine another figure. At this point, the purpose of this recommendation is purely to advertise for 28 days and contact neighbours and like. So there is time for council to negotiate, and if it so desires.
Any discussion or comment about they're happy with the recommendation or you wanted to renegotiate, which would have to be an amendment?
Through Mr Mayor, can I just add that there is no rates notice for this section, so there are no outgoings per se for this particular area of land.
Any further discussion then with the recommendation, unless someone wants to make an amendment? If not, all in favour of the existing recommendation?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Infrastructure Services Monthly Report. There are 5 points to this recommendation, which are on the screen. So there are some adjustments recommended for a number of the projects that are here. So do I have a mover for all 5 parts? Councillor Goswich has moved that way. Councillor Newstead has seconded that. Debate or discussion on this recommendation, councillors? Councillor Goswich.
I've got a couple. The footpaths, have we heard from RMS and are we going to link those up? Had someone asked me about Palmer Street today? Is it going to link to Orange Road?
Through you, Mr Mayor, yes, we're still working with Transport on the approval process of that. Given the time of year, it's likely going to be resolved late January, early Feb.
I assume there'll be the modification then to the recommendation, which says, I think, mid-January or something like that. So that will change by the sounds of it.
Sorry, Mr Mayor.
There's no need to alter the recommendation, Mr Mayor.
Sorry, not in the
There's
recommendation,
no-
in the report, sorry.
indicates-
There was an indication of, I think it was mid-January, that the would be finished, but I assume that is likely to now be probably February.
At the time of the report, we anticipated mid-January, but given the lack of outcome at the moment, I'm anticipating it's probably going to be pushed back a few weeks.
Councillor Goswich, do you have another question? While Councillor Goswich is having a look, do any other councillors have any questions with regard to this report? Councillor Price-Jones.
question again, sorry. I'm just interested around point 2, $20,000 for compliance activities around the council bores from the village enhancement program. So what council's bores are you talking about? And does it include the Barry bore?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, so the bores with compliance activities are a bore located at Redmond Oval in Millthorpe and King George Oval in Blayney. Redmond Oval bore requires some compliance activities to meet our annual reporting requirements, and the bore at King George Oval was physically decommissioned some years ago, but the actual decommissioning with the regulator wasn't completed, and so we need to undertake a bit of work to finalise that.
Other questions from councillors, or has Councillor Goswich found his note? If not, all in favour of the recommendation?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Item number 13, Millthorpe CBD proposed scope for construction in 24-25. There are two parts to that recommendation. Do I have a mover for that recommendation? Councillor Newstead has moved that way. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Goswich has seconded that. Councillors, debate or discussion on either of these recommendations? Not. All in favour of the two recommendations?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Item number 14, proposed part road closure, Graham Lane, Millthorpe. There are 5 parts to this recommendation. Do I have a mover for it? Councillor Newstead has moved that way. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Goswich has seconded that. Discussion or debate on this recommendation, councillors? Not. All in favour of the recommendation? Aye. Against? Carried. Councillors, item 15, proposed part road closure, Newbridge Road. There's a recommendation there in 3 parts. Do I have a mover? Goswich has moved that way. Councillor Newstead has seconded that. Debate or discussion on this proposed road closure? Councillor Goswich.
Is this just another one of those cleaning up exercises after we build a new bridge? Is that really summing it up?
To the Director.
Yeah, through Mr. Mayor, the road was realigned, and since 2017, this portion of land has been fenced within the property of the landowner proposed to be transferred to. So this is formalising a prior deed with that landowner. It's a change of title.
Any other questions or discussion? If not, all in favour of the recommendation? Aye. Against? Carried. Item number 16, minutes of the Traffic Committee meeting held on the 6th of December 2024. Do I have a mover? Councillor Newstead has moved that way. Councillor Hutchings, who also attended, has seconded that. Any discussion with regard to the 4 recommendations?
Quickly,
So
Mr. Mayor, just number 4 there, that giveaway signs are going to be placed on Low Street and at the intersection of Marshall's Lane because of the trucks coming in and out of the quarry. Much safer to have those on either side, I think. So that's it.
Thank you, Councillor Newstead. Any other discussion? If not, all in favour of item 16? Aye. Against? Carried. Item number 17, Development Assessment Report. A recommendation there that the Development Assessment Report be received and noted. Do I have a mover? Councillor Scott has moved that way. Seconder. Councillor Hutchings has seconded that. Debate or discussion on this report or questions? Councillor Newstead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's just a quick comment. It's always interesting to see this, to see how much activity is actually going on within the LGA. A lot of the time you don't realise until you see this, and a lot of money's worth there as well. So, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Any other discussion? I'll just make a quick comment, the appreciation with the planning staff on how they've now set out these two separate spreadsheets so that councillors and the community can see what has been approved, but also what still has to be approved and the dates, so highlighting the different applications. And with regard to these, as in the ones that still are currently under assessment, it is generally because it's gone back to the proponent and the proponent hasn't come back with reports, as far as I understand. Is that correct, General Manager?
Generally, Mr. Mayor, yes. If I could just add a further comment, Mr. Mayor, it's probably good practice to highlight to those watching or listening that there's an extraordinary meeting tomorrow to deal with several of these DAs as well.
You beat me to it by one recommendation.
Apologies.
No, that's fine. Any other comments? Councillor Price-Jones.
I did a question again around why some of them don't have a value in them.
Given we haven't got the director here, do you want to attempt, General Manager, or wait and maybe take that up? Can we defer that till tomorrow?
Through Mr. Mayor, we'll leave that for the director. It'd be a case-by-case basis. A lot of them would be a modification per se, so there may not be a specific dollar value, in particular subdivisions and boundary adjustments, which I can see there, but there is a couple of sheds and stuff which I'm not sure why they don't have a particular value.
Take that on notice till tomorrow's extraordinary council meeting, Councillor Price-Jones, but do you have something else?
Oh no, just one of those items that's coming up tomorrow is on there with a zero value.
Should you ask tomorrow why it has a zero value? It's probably a very good question. Councillors, any other discussion with regard to that item? If not, all in favour of the recommendation?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Item number 18, Delegates Report, McPhillamy Gold Project Community Consultative Committee. A recommendation, I'll move it from the chair, given I wrote the report. Do I have a seconder for that report? Councillor Price-Jones has seconded the report. So discussion or questions of me with regard to the report? Hopefully it's fairly self-explanatory, but there may be a question. All in favour of the recommendation? Aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. That concludes our ordinary council meeting for tonight at 6:52. Council meeting from 10 a.m. tomorrow, being Wednesday the 18th, here in the chamber to discuss, I think it's 6 items, planning items. Is that correct, General Manager?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, yes.
So anyone who wants to watch the planning items, and there will be a fair bit of interest around a couple of them, I suspect. The business paper is online, and we will convene here again tomorrow at 10 a.m. for the extraordinary council meeting, which will be the last council meeting of 2024. On that note, at 6:53, I close the council meeting for the 17th of December. Thank you.